When you have a vision, you are close to a mad person because nobody believes you until the thing you claim become a reality.
This is the wildest billionaire story ever told. The story of Cosmas Maduka, the man nicknamed by Forbes as a $500 million survivor, founder and chairman of Koscharis Group, a powerful company with about 8 automobile franchises. The billionaire's admirable success today was shaped by a journey written in blood, tears, and sweat. He worked for 7 years without pay, showered in the streets, and barely escaped death during the Nigerian Civil War. Today, the same teenage boy has risen above all odds to become one of the largest distributors of automobiles in Nigeria. Stay with us as we explore the shocking life story of Cosmas Maduka and how he made it from the slums to the king's table. In the raging storm of the Nigerian Biafran Civil War stood a child who had just escaped a terrible massacre by the Nigerian army. Ever since Cosmas Maduka came into the world on December 24, 1958, his early life was characterized by unending turmoils. At just the age of 4, he had lost his father to the cold hands of death, launching him into early adulthood as he joined his widowed mother in the sales of akara to sustain the family. However, as the proceeds of the petty business could barely support the household, Cosmas was forced to drop his educational ambitions for his older brother at the age of 7. Despite all these, Cosmas recalled how his mother would always speak positively to him, assuring him that he would be a successful person no matter what happened. Cosmas himself, brought up by devout Catholics, would make prayers to the Virgin Mary, asking her to come rescue his hometown from the violent war. But as no answers came, Cosmas realized that he would need to be as resilient as ever to survive alone. At the age of 12, Cosmas was sent to Lagos to stay with his mother's junior brother, from whom he was meant to learn the automobile spare part trade. While it may seem like the beginning of something good, it didn't appear so to Cosmas, as his master's lack of accommodation meant that he had to sleep at the trading store every night and take a shower behind it before daybreak. This routine welcomed Cosmas into the crude world of apprenticeship, an experience he had credited for his business fortitude. However, as years went by, his uncle became quite an established man, opening trading shops in different parts of the country to accommodate his growing business. He would occasionally assign some of them to the 15-year-old Cosmas to manage, trusting in the teenage boy's natural brilliance, a key instrument to his quick learning abilities and unwavering confidence. This was in the face of ridicule from naysayers who thought that Cosmas was too young to understand any business at all. But what they didn't know was that life had whispered 2 words to Cosmas: survive or perish. And Cosmas had chosen to survive, even if it meant pushing beyond the mental limits of age. While Cosmas understood that apprenticeship journey would one day come to an end, he never imagined it would happen the way it did. 5 years into serving his uncle, a slight misunderstanding arose between the two, causing them to part ways on not very amicable terms. The issue began when Cosmas locked up the shop he was assigned to manage in Inewi to attend a 3-day church program. Unfortunately, his absence was discovered by his uncle during one of his surprise visits.
What did I do? I went to church for 3 consecutive days and locked off my boss shop. We Igbo people don't play with our business. Our business is religion. Death or anything does not come between it.
Furious, his uncle summoned him back to Lagos for an urgent meeting that involved Cosmas' older brother as a witness. There and then, the apprenticeship was terminated and Cosmas handed the sum of 200 naira as a settlement. Shocked and unsatisfied with the settlement worth only a brand new color television in the 1970s, Cosmas decided not to make a fuss about it. Instead, he took the money and parted ways with his uncle. With a barely enough settlement, the teenage boy managed to establish a small automobile spare parts dealership with his older brother, which they named Maduka Brothers. However, the enterprise lasted no more than 3 months before crumbling under the different ideologies held by the 2 brothers. Deciding to part amicably, both continued running their business separately, eventually becoming competitors in the auto spare parts market. Having spent the last 5 years managing a similar business for his uncle, Cosmas already enjoyed a relationship with all the major wholesalers in a straight line. It was among these business networks that he discovered Bolos Enterprises, a prominent motorcycle assembly and distribution company in Lagos. During one of his visits to the plants, Cosmas discovered a new product that was just being rolled out, a motorcycle crash bar. Although not popular in the country at that time, Cosmas dived into the product in full faith. He placed large orders and strategically removed the Bolos address on the packaging to prevent potential customers from tracing his merchandise. If you're enjoying this documentary, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support enables us to continue sharing compelling stories like this one. Now, let's get back to the story. Traveling back to Inewi with the new products, Cosmas' intuition proved right. The motorcycle crash bar sold out rapidly and the demand was overwhelming. Eager to capitalize on this momentum, the teenage boy embarked on multiple night trips to Lagos within a single week, returning with more stock each time. And in a short period of time, he successfully grew his business fund from 300 naira to 3,000 naira, an impressive tenfold increase that launched him into early success. At the age of 17, Cosmas was able to rent an apartment of his own while handling a thriving business that exposed him to even greater visions. The young business tycoon marked out 3 goals for himself. He was to find a wife before the age of 20, buy his first car at 23, and become a millionaire at 25.
By 15, I wrote on top of my bed that I want to marry before 20.
Wow.
So I've been married for 42 years now. Okay? Now, my second vision is that I will own my own car before 23. I wanted to have a son by 21. And then I said, by 25, I will be a millionaire.
The first is successfully achieved after he was captivated by the voice of a female chorister in church and boldly proposed to her. Today, Cosmas credits a huge portion of his success to Charity, his wife, whose name was added to his to form the Koscharis brand. But before the birth of Koscharis, there was a great labor.
My wife is the vice president of Koscharis organization. She owned the company with me because I married her when I owned nothing. So we built Koscharis together. She can sign a check of 10 billion naira. Only her can sign signature alone in the whole of Koscharis. Myself, she has so signature. Her credit card has no limit.
It came to be that at the height of his business success, Cosmas began drifting into the importation of spare parts. But the newfound path became the undoing of Cosmas after he received a spare part import that did not match the original order. He had invested virtually all his business capital into the purchase and they all turned out to have the wrong consignments. According to Cosmas, he had made a mistake on his part and the simple oversight rendered the goods unsellable, forcing Cosmas to offload them for peanuts. The newly married young man had now run into bankruptcy and his landlord, whom he owed for months, ended up locking his shop.
I also have difficulties because I lost my capital at a time. I couldn't pay for the store where I'm in. I couldn't pay for my house rent, okay? And landlord was pursuing me. So I went through all of those things. Adversity is nothing but a refining fire that burns out impurities in your life.
With his means of livelihood taken away from him, Cosmas had to rely on resilient spirit and creativity to forge a path for himself. While his wife resumed the low-paying job, Cosmas, with his non-existent academic background, was unemployable. But instead of sulking at home, Cosmas picked up a bathroom scale he had received as a wedding gift and took it to the market. He would charge people to check their weight, gathering the sum of 10 kobo per person until he was able to build a substantial savings. With the little capital, Cosmas partnered with a friend to form a new business, but things went bad between the two, leading to the breakup of the business. Having raised a manageable sum from the defunct enterprise, Cosmas took the bold step of forming a solo car trading business, which he named Koscharis. This venture marked a turning point in his life, as the business flourished and laid the foundation for what would become a successful conglomerate. Cosmas Maduka's true breakthrough came in 1982 when the government announced that it would be giving out import licenses to car companies in the country. With no assurances but a strong faith, Cosmas applied his company for the license program. Only 10 companies were granted the licenses, and when Cosmas checked the register, he was shocked to see Koscharis on the list. In later reflections, Maduka believed that the authorities might have mistaken Koscharis for a large foreign company due to the sound of its name and incorporation status. Meanwhile, the small company was just Cosmas and his wife. With the country's heavy reliance on imports and only a few entities holding the import license, Cosmas Maduka's problem no longer became how to sell his goods, but where to buy more. The local market demand was so high that Koscharis was making over 200% in profit margins, enjoying a free trade flow with barely any restrictions from the government. However, Koscharis, among the 10 licensed companies, was tied in a fierce competition. In order to last long in the market, Cosmas knew he had to do something different to have an edge over other automobile importers. He had crafted the idea to upgrade Koscharis into a modernized car dealership by building fully equipped car showrooms, a non-existent concept in the country at the time. According to the business mogul, most car dealerships sold in open areas, lacking service centers and other amenities for improving customer experience. Hence, it was going to bring a change. Finally, in 1997, Koscharis unveiled its ultra-modern complex in Victoria Island, Lagos, a statement of the CEO's huge ambitions. This development took Koscharis to the spotlight, transforming its outlets into a hotspot for car enthusiasts and further drawing the attention of foreign car companies who wanted to maintain a grand appearance. Less than 1 year later, Koscharis secured an exclusive franchise to market the prestigious BMW and Land Rover brands in Nigeria. This game-changing deal elevated the profit of Koscharis, spelling it as a symbol of luxury and elegance. But Cosmas was ready for more, as the coming of the millennium saw Koscharis expanding its footprints. The company opened a modern sales and service branch in Abuja in the year 2000, followed by an even grander complex in 2010 and the first of its kind in West Africa. In 2012, Koscharis introduced Jaguar vehicles to the Nigerian market, setting even higher ambitious goals with their 2014 partnership with Rolls-Royce to become the only representative of the ultra-luxury car brand in Nigeria. Despite building its empire on exclusive brands, Koscharis also made efforts towards diversifying its collections, adding affordable car brands like Ford to the lineup. To further penetrate into the lower-end car market, Koscharis, in partnership with Ford, launched the Koscharis Motor Plant in 2014, where Ford vehicles, starting with the Ford Ranger, could be assembled and sold. Later in 2019, the French Renault brand joined the assembly line. A natural-born entrepreneur, Maduka's drive for innovation and business excellence guided him to select only the most strategic and business-smart minds to work for him, striving to cultivate a culture of innovation and ambition within his team. According to the CEO, this has largely helped the growth of the company, attracting numerous investors and launching the company into a multi-million-dollar enterprise in under 40 years. Today, its operations have expanded into other African countries, reflecting its strategic and ambitious leadership. Having scaled to satisfactory levels in the car industries, Cosmas began diversifying his business interests into other sectors. Most notable of these diversifications include the commissioning of a 40,000 megaton rice mill by Koscharis Farms in 2019 and the announcement of a $4 billion renewable energy project by Koscharis Technologies, another subsidiary of the conglomerate. With such a growth leap by Koscharis, it is no wonder why the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, awarded Cosmas a Doctor of Business Administration. This recognition stands among many others endowed on Cosmas for his admirable business acumen and award-winning commitment to ethical leadership. However, the journey of the Koscharis boss did not come without its controversies. In the early 2010s, Cosmas Maduka was entangled in a complex financial ordeal involving Access Bank and well-known businessman Ifeanyi Uba, known for his integrity, Maduka had vouched for Uba, introducing him to Access Bank and helping secure a 21 billion naira loan. But Maduka's helpful actions quickly turned into his hanging rope after Uba had allegedly refused to repay the loan, causing the intervention of the CBN and other relevant authorities.
Something I never had in my life in business history. It wasn't cash that I gave him. A letter of credit was opened from the bank, and then we had documents waiting for the consignment till today. The consignment never arrived in Nigeria. The guy went abroad, connived with the shipping company. He nominated the vessel and sold the consignment offshore. And I was left with a liability of over 21 billion naira.
It was discovered that Maduka, who sat on the bank's board of directors, had influenced the institution to loan more than the banking regulations permitted, causing the CBN to fine the bank and ultimately dismiss Maduka from its board of directors. Despite all this, Maduka took it upon himself to contribute to the loan repayment efforts, inasmuch as there was no contractual agreement obliging him to do so.
Trying to solve this problem, I sold all my stake in one of the institutions where I am a director, and I was having a controlling share to pay off that debt.
According to the business tycoon, it was his name at stake and a trust he shared with all other banks and businesses. Therefore, he felt morally obliged to repay Uba's loans, as it wouldn't have been given without his endorsement. This public episode underscored Cosmas Maduka's upstanding principles, a strength he claims to be a product of his Christian faith, and also his early business contacts with the Japanese. Despite the fallout, Cosmas and Uba have since reconciled, with Cosmas publicly stating that he had moved past the incident and maintained a cordial relationship with Ifeanyi Uba before his unfortunate passing in 2024. Although the loan repayment punched a big hole in his pockets, Cosmas stands even stronger today, with a net worth of over $500 million. From a former auto spare part apprentice, Cosmas now drives a Jaguar XF, a Rolls-Royce Cullinan, and an S-Class Mercedes-Benz, among other wonder machines. But beyond the material wealth lies a man with an even more priceless possession. The entrepreneur is a father to 5 children, some of whom hold American citizenship. According to Cosmas, he had enrolled them in Nigerian schools at a point out of the belief that the experience would earn them certain survival skills, ones that couldn't be taught in any foreign classrooms.
3 of my kids are American citizens. They are 5, 4 boys and 1 girl. The girl is in the middle. I told them, you must get your first degree in Nigeria. That's why. Because to be a true Nigeria, you have to be identified with her shame and glory. Whatever she is what you are.
Such a mindset was born from his own journey, one marked by resilience, hustle, and survival, shaped alongside his beloved wife, Mrs. Charity, who sadly passed in 2021. Familiar with both the sweet and bitter sides of life, Cosmas continues to push harder, relying on the same faith and principles that have kept him going. Creating waves with every step, Cosmas has always remained true to his own major vision in life: to return to his maker empty of all the potentials, dreams, and gifts he had come into the world with. And as he continues to build, inspire, and give, his life stands not just as a success story, but a living legacy, one still in motion, still unfolding, and still lighting the path for those who dare to dream.